Alright, here we go. Second video in 2 days. Yesterday I gave a rundown of what Red October was, when it started, 1917, when the clock came back on, 2017, how that was coming from the first two coup posts. That was 100 years, and it was broken down into 70, 30, 100, and that's how you built out from the map. So one of the biggest posts I talked about yesterday was the JFK Jr. Hillary post, called The Start. I believe that the start was the 16-year plan. And the 16-year plan was November 7th, 2000, when Hillary took over the Senate seat in New York, to November 8th, 2016, when she would have been president, had she won. JFK Jr. passed away, supposedly, on the 16th of July, 1999. So all I did was take that date and added it up to the date that Hillary won the Senate seat, and it came out to 480 days, which I thought was weird. And I've already come across 70, 30, and 100, and it all matched up on the exact same day. And so I kept following it. And so I took that same date, the Q post, the first one, and I ran it to POTUS's Trump speech on 1/19/19, because I had run into so many different posts that had linked together that they were talking to me. 1/19/19, 3-2-1 countdown, and 4-10-20 signatures all over the place. I think I found 5 of them in, like, a 45-minute period, and I was like, holy shit. So for some reason I got off on a Flynn tangent day before yesterday, I think it was, and I started looking into Flynn, and I found that Flynn and his son started the Flynn Intel Group Incorporated. And so as soon as I saw it, I was like, Fiji, that's Fiji, even though Fiji spelled with a J, but when you say Fiji, it's with a G. So I kept going, and let me back up. 10/26 to 1/19/19 was 450 days. I don't know if I said that. 45. So to me, that's automatic Trump talking to us, because what I've noticed as well is a lot of these numbers are being reduced. Let me give you an example. Trump tweeted hamburgers the other day, which I figured out meant remember wall, and I've got that tweeted as well. I am Q 4th wall, but Twitter's completely shut me down after I put some of this stuff out. And then he tweeted from 300 to 1,000 hamburgers, right? And I was like, what the hell? And just obviously that 30 rang a bell with me, so I took the 1,000 minus the 300 and had 700. I was like, holy shit, it's 30, 70, 100 again, or 3, 7, and 10, or 3, 7, and 1, right? The reduction, the zeros, just blew me away. So anyways, back to Flynn. So I kept going with Flynn, and Flynn Intel Group with Fiji, it was incorporated in Delaware. And I was like, oh, Delaware, I've never been to Delaware, but Delaware rang a bell right away with seeing the pictures of Washington coming across the river. And then I thought, shit, water, right? Fiji, water, they're separate, but they're linked. And then, of course, I looked up the date, the 25th, 26th. And the thing with Q and the map is, days are one back or one forward. There's a leeway there. Time zones, I think. I don't know for sure, but I think it's time zones, is how he plays it. You could go to Russia, and it would be, the 26th of October, and you come to, New York, would be the 27th, and vice versa. So then I looked up Flynn's date of birth, and it was the 24th, so I automatically knew, okay, Flynn's Washington, coming across to Delaware. Because then I automatically said, in my head, I always remembered Flynn in 30, and I was like, Flynn in 30? what does that mean? And so I just took that number and I added the 30 to 119, took me to 219. So I was like, okay, what's going on here? So I got to 219 and it was, it's George Washington's birthday, which is just mind-blowing. And it's President's Day. It's a federal holiday. And so one thing I didn't add, maybe a couple things I didn't add yesterday, where is it? Godfather, I forgot to add Godfather. First of all, it's an epilogue, so look up epilogue if you want to look it up. It's kind of like telling a story beforehand. And I didn't know that about Godfather 3. And then Godfather 3 came out on Christmas Day as well, and then I thought, of course, Godfather, you know, Washington, who's the father of the nation? It's Washington. I was like, oh, this is just insane. So another thing about the 480 date, or 480 days between Hillary and JFK's death, is if you divide it by that 16-year plan, you get that 30 again. And I was like, golly, here's my 30 or my 3. What the hell is going on? So I'm playing around today, and I'm playing around with 219, right? And what's weird about it is the date I'm going to give you for what I think's happening was already in my head. And I don't know how it was in my head. And I've come to the answer in like 4 different ways. But this one finally clicked and made sense to me. I was reading a Q post this morning. And it talked about when Sessions would be fired, or, you know, resignation, that he would be replaced by an acting AG. And that acting AG would be in there for 210 days. And as soon as I saw that 210, I said, holy shit. If you go back to my Red October post, when Lenin went into what was called the Winter Palace and took control of that government, all the clocks stopped in there at 2:10 a.m. And they stayed at 2:10 a.m. for 100 years until 2017 October 26th, Hillary Clinton's birthday. She'll be 70 again, and tied into the first 2 Q posts. You'd have to go back and read my thread to understand exactly how those hours work. But remember, there's a leeway there between time zones, I believe. So now back to 219 and 210. So I took that 210, which is 21, right? And I've been trying to figure out what the hell's 21. Well, it's 210. And you add that 210 to Flynn and 30, 219, and you come up with 9/17/2019. So I'm like, okay, I know that number because I've seen that number, because I've mentally worked out that date in my head before, like, I don't know, a week ago maybe. I just couldn't pin it. And I did it the same way, but I did it backwards. And then I've been looking for that 23. I've been looking for that pain. Where is that 23? So I added that 23 to it because I knew it took me to the number I knew about before. And guess what that number is? It's 10/10. 2019. October 10th, 2019. And I'm going to tell you why I knew this beforehand. Because when I had it in my head, I went and looked up, why do I know this number? And you know what it was? It was the second debate between Trump and Hillary. And he said, because I would put you in jail. Let me repeat that. I know everybody remembers this. Because I would put you in jail. And I've always told my dad, everything I knew Trump was going to win the very first day he came down the escalator. I put into YouTube, I've got proof somewhere, I was only one electoral vote away from being right on the money. That's how good I was. I knew. I mean, I did a lot of research, and I was one off, which, when I think about it now, is just insane. It brings you to 10-10 and that date. And something Q has said over and over again. I have it written down. You can go look it up yourself, or I'll put this on my Twitter page. Has POTUS ever made a statement not yet to be true? No, not really. So if he's telling Hillary on 10-10 of 2016, because you would be in jail, and I told my dad the same thing. You think he's playing? I just couldn't figure it out. So there you go. We get to 10-10. Alright. I have some more. Obviously, it's just going to blow you away. So, I'm not exactly sure in what direction this went. I've just got to say one thing. I've got a lot of stuff to back this up. A lot of stuff to back this up. But if I get into the weeds with y'all, it's going to sound insane. So I want to keep it as far out as possible. You know, Q said something, I've got it written down as well. He said 40,000 feet necessary to understand. And that's why he kept saying Iron Eagle, because in Iron Eagle they say fly high. Get that big view of the picture, right, that you're trying to paint. And then he said you can decrease altitude, which I've done. I've decreased the altitude. I've picked up on a lot of other things. But for this would be a 3-hour video. I'm just trying to stay at 40,000 feet for y'all. So, if you take 10, 11, remember, we can go one day or we can go back. If you take 10 or 11, and I'm not going to give you the exact year, because I'm not sure exactly what direction he's working with this, but you'll understand when I say it. And you go forward to JFK's birthday of May. And so what I did is I took it from 10/11/16 and I took it up to 5/29, JFK's date of birth. He was actually born 5/29/1917. So here's that 17 again. You get 960 days, which is crazy, because remember, 480 days between JFK's Jr.'s death and Hillary, and then 480 days between the first Q post and when I think Flynn's coming. It was the 30 days we added to 450 when Trump gave that speech in Washington, with the big Washington portrait behind Trump. And I'm like, they're matching 480s with her. That's what it feels like anyways. So then I took that 960 and I multiplied it by 20, because I know JFK Jr.'s 20 years of coming up. And I came up with 7,300, and I about passed out, because there's my 7 and my 3 again. Everything's related to the first 2 Q posts, like I stated. I did a thread on my Twitter called Red October, which broke down that 70-30-100 split. And at first I got a lot of viewers, and all of a sudden Twitter just completely shut me down. And I've got like 1 or 2 people that look at that page. It's absolutely insane. It is Q fourth wall, if you want to go and see if you can find it. Because if you start there, then exactly what I'm saying will make sense. So what I'm trying to tell you is, I think the 23 days of pain are from 9/17 to 10/10. And I think the 10 days of darkness are from October 1st to October 10th. And I think it's going to get nasty. And I have a lot of things to back that up too. I mean, I have so much I could put out there. I'm going to do my best to do it and get it out there. I appreciate your time. If I come up with anything else, let me know, or if you have any questions, just put them in the comment section. Thanks.